It's time for the Nappy Time Lectures with the Amateur Sommelier.
So, hello everyone, it is the Amateur Sommelier. After dinner, quite dying, as I always am. It's beautiful, not really. We're going to talk about my diagnosis that became Helicobacter pylori. What is it? How did it come to be there? And what are we going to do about it? It's more so me, actually, but nevertheless. We have objectives. Now you can see why I actually wanted to do this in the PowerPoint format, instead of, my face just talking to all of you. So let me know in the comments if you prefer the PowerPoint slides that I did up like this. We're going to describe how H. pylori infects the body. We're going to name one type of diagnostic test available, and we're going to discuss prevention techniques from getting infected. Because this is terrible. You don't want this. I don't want you to have this. It's just, it's not a fun time, I will assure you. So what is H. pylori? Well, if you go to that website, or just stare at the image, you will notice that there is, well, in this case it's green, bacterium with flagella-like tendons there, habitable, being very pathogenic. They primarily infect the stomach, but can also infect the upper portion of the small intestine with their flagellar-like tendons. They open up pockets in the lining of the stomach, and they burrow themselves in and start causing symptoms. But we'll get there. When I was doing my research, this is actually surprisingly common. Up to 2/3 of the world population actually has H. pylori, although not everyone is symptomatic, which is very interesting. There's little ticking time until kaboom, you have an infection, and it's really bad. So how did I get this? It's primarily spread through the oral route, which is through the mouth, and yes, kissing, smooching, snogging. Let that sink in for a second. That's just terrifying. Food not cleaned or cooked properly, or drinking contaminated water. Those are kind of obvious. Those can also lead to several other infections, but we're not going to go over them in this PowerPoint because we'd be here forever, and this is not microbiology. Excuse me. So, the pathogenesis, or how the infection starts, I kind of introduced it. A bacterium attaches to the stomach lining, buries itself in there. It's able to produce urease to neutralize the stomach acid, in which the stomach has to compensate, creating more stomach acid. But the bacterium continues producing the urease, also causes ulcers, severe acid reflux, as well as stomach inflammation, which is called gastritis, and may eventually lead to stomach cancer. And yes, I'm going to keep doing this, and it's completely beyond my control. Apologies in advance. Other notable symptoms, besides obviously the heartburn and me coughing excessively, nausea, unexplained weight loss, bloating. I bloat a lot, even without this. Or maybe it's been here the entire time. Dun dun dun. Also stomach pain and a loss of appetite, which I don't have, and hopefully won't. So how does one go about determining if they're infected? Well, there's this cool thing called stool testing, and it's all smiles, except not really. So there's two tests you can do. There's antigen testing, which detects specific proteins to the H. pylori, or they can do what is called PCR, polymerase chain reaction, that detects DNA of H. pylori in the stool. Means, guess what? It's in there. You're probably infected. It's not good. There's breath testing, which is what I did. I drank a solution containing urea. which is a compound in urine, yes, but, actually this one tasted kind of sweet, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. But it has tagged carbon molecules. I don't know what it's tagged with. I'm going to assume it's fluorescently tagged. I'm pretty sure it could also be phosphorically tagged. Yes, for phosphorescence. Let's see, there could be radioactive carbon, so carbon-14. Other tags, I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't find that, unfortunately. But first thing I did, well, actually the first thing, was to blow into one bag before I drank the solution. Drank the solution, waited 15 minutes, blew into another bag after the 15 minutes from drinking the solution. And what happens is, if there's H. pylori, which is detecting positive, however they analyze this, detects the CO2. And obviously the tagged carbon molecules are in the CO2 now from the urease. Not 100% sure the methodology about that. It was sent out, so I'm not entirely sure the laboratory process beyond that. And it burns. It does. Well, at least for me. I was also positive, but it literally just burned in my stomach for good, I'd say an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I mean, it was not fun. I was like, oh, this is sweet. Okay, this is good. I'm getting my test done. I start driving home. Ow. Pain. Pain in the stomach, chest area. It burns. It's like laid on a vampire, quite literally. There's what I need to eventually do, which is an upper endoscopy. Except now I'm on other stuff currently, so I have no idea what's going to happen with that. Probably just do a follow-up with that to see if there's any more damage, or if there's antibiotic resistance, which, God, that's not going to be fun. Essentially, you cannot eat past midnight the day of your test, and the reason for that is there's an endoscope, which is a fancy scope device that goes down the esophagus. So yes, through your mouth, they put you to sleep. Thank goodness. I don't want to experience that. Conscious. Unless you're one of those rare people that they give you anesthesia and you're still actually conscious, which, oh God, I hope I'm not one of those people, because that would be really, really scary. Essentially go into your stomach, they take biopsy samples. I think there's like some kind of a camera thing also that can assess damage from the ulcers. So yeah, I gotta work on that. Maybe, possibly, at some point. And then there's also the string test, which essentially you swallow a capsule, and there's another kind of similar test, which is a brush. You swallow that. The capsule collects the gastric juice or mucosa. The brush kind of gets mucosa and tissue. Either which way, they're trying to isolate H. pylori in culture from your sample. And I gotta be dead honest with you. I would rather have the endoscopy just be put to sleep, because I think the string test you have to be conscious, because you have to swallow the stinking thing. And I'm just not about that life. I'm sorry. It's not. Like, knock me out. Do breath testing. Like, no. Terrible. So, in clear shock, I tested positive. Actually, I wasn't incredibly shocked. Actually, I was shocked. My coworkers can attest that I was very shocked. They did not appreciate me that day. What do I do? Well, there is a whole slew of things you gotta do. Lots of pills. There's antibiotics. I am on amoxicillin and clarithromycin. There's also metronidazole, tetracycline, and tinidazole, which I thought I was reading in the literature that there's growing antibiotic resistance to metronidazole and tetracycline. So, I don't know. Might be older literature that I was looking at. There are proton pump inhibitors, PPIs. Those try to inhibit the acid-producing cells in your stomach. And you guys would probably know of Prilosec and Nexium. There's also Prevacid. There's Dexilent, Protonox, or Acifix. Yeah, I have no idea about the last three. I've never heard of them in my life. There's the H2 blockers, which inhibit the acid in the stomach itself. I'd have to look at that again. No, that's not true. Just kidding. They inhibit the histamine, which then produces the acid. That's right. H2 blockers go to the histamine. Yes, histamine can actually make the stomach produce stomach acid. Histamine is just an absolute nightmare. If you don't know from the last video, wine lecture, about the wine allergens, trust me, histamine's not fun. For some people. These H2 blockers include cimetidine, famotidine, nizatidine. I don't remember the... it's not the generic names. It's the name brands. I don't remember name brands. I know chemistry names. This is what I do. There's some literature that also includes bismuth subsalicylate, which everyone knows and loves as Pepto-Bismol. And I would do the old commercial that they did, but no, we're not doing that jingle. You guys would probably hate me for the rest of your lives. So all of those are done for 1 to 2 weeks. Mine is 2 weeks. It's going to be an exercise. It's not been a week. My symptoms have improved, but haven't gone away completely. Crossing our fingers they go away completely, because I'm going crazy, and I don't like it. And then you're supposed to retest after 2 to 4 weeks. You're supposed to be completely off the antibiotics. They want you off all of the antacid stuff as well for about 2 weeks. And then retest. And then if it's negative, you clear the infection out. Ideally. And if it's positive, they reassess, do different antibiotics. They may actually do an endoscope. I don't think you can do surgery for H. pylori. I don't know what you do. But yeah. We're going to hope I'm not positive again. How about that? How can I prevent this from happening ever again? Well, I don't know about ever again. So, kindly and bluntly, wash your hands after the bathroom before handling food. Can't stress enough. Obviously, avoid food and water that are unclean, suspicious, not well cooked. If you think it's bad, it's probably bad. And then, if you are developing symptoms, nothing's going away, over-the-counter stuff's not helping out, talk to your doctor. You could have H. pylori. You could have GERD, the gastroesophageal reflux disease. You could have esophagitis. You can have gastritis. It could get really bad. And now, all of that information's cool and all. And yes, there's a reason I spell it that way. You're just going to have to look it up yourselves. But what does any of this have to do with wine? Well, glad y'all asked. Alcohol is infamous for interacting with the medications of choice. And as you can see, there are lots of nasty symptoms for the antibiotics, the PPI, and H2 blockers interacting with the alcohol, causing problems. I mean, you're obviously worsening your heartburn and, technically GERD. You can also get nausea, headaches, increase your blood pressure and your heart rate, get dehydrated, and apparently, I didn't know this, with H2 blockers, you can actually increase your BAC, and if you decide to drive, well, you may be going over the legal limit, and yeah, no need for that. Oh, alcohol, why do you do the things you do? So alcohol increases stomach acid production. This worsens the heartburn/GERD. It also irritates the lining of the stomach, so the ulcers heal more slowly. They may not be able to heal completely at all if you just continuously be drinking, and you don't want to do that. It also relaxes the lower esophageal sphincter, it's LES, and it allows the acid to go back up from the stomach into the esophagus, worsening your reflux. And it's also a diuretic. What's a diuretic? It's something that makes you go to the bathroom more often. You're just losing fluid from your body at a much quicker pace. You can get dehydration, which worsens the acid reflux. And so you need to be hydrated and drink water. And I actually need to drink water because, oh my gosh, my voice right now. Good golly grief. In conclusion, H. pylori sucks. If you have symptoms, go to your doctor. Wash your hands. Cook food thoroughly. And avoid alcohol. Which, I say it's so freaking hard. I'm actually going to be honest with you. It's a lot harder to avoid the acidic foods, especially the condiments like ketchup and barbecue sauce. Oh my gosh, been hard. I try to have light splashes of red wine vinegar. Not gonna lie, on my salad. Just light ones. I think it's still, it's acid. It's vinegar. Even olive oil sometimes gets to me. I need to start using more sesame oil. I need to make my food shopping list, actually. That's something I need to do. And so, yes, thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I will be back at some point in time. And then, and only then, I don't know, we'll just continue to have updates. And hope I get better. I swear I'm taking my antibiotics, okay? I am. It's happening. Pinky swear. Also, the aftertaste is awful. So, that being said, I've kept you all here long enough. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Source material for this presentation has been provided by the links down below. How you're going to actually verify these links, I have no flipping clue. But I'm sure you'll all figure it out and be motivated enough to type all of that in. Except for, I don't know, the fifth one? I'm not typing all that in. Even the fourth one. What's even that character? What is GIMD? What is any of this? What the freaking farts?